Welcome to Africa Geotrends, your window into Africa's power, progress, and geopolitics. Asterisk before we dive in, hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the stories shaping Africa's future. At the northern shore of Mozambique, where the Indian Ocean meets the continent, a megaproject lies frozen in time. It was once hailed as one of the world's largest liquefied natural gas developments. A $20 billion investment, a 13 million ton per annum plant, vast offshore gas fields, port terminals, and pipelines. But in 2021, everything stopped. Security collapsed in the Cabo Delgado region, militants attacked the site, construction ground to a halt, and uncertainty replaced ambition. That darkness, however, is now giving way to light. Because in 2025 the signs are clear, the project is being revived. This is not just a restart. It is a signal shift in global energy, industrial strategy, and African economic power. The company at the center of it all is TotalEnergies, the French energy giant, whose Mozambique LNG project covers the Gulf Finho and Adam gas fields offshore in the Rovuma Basin, and an onshore liquefaction facility at a fungi in Cabo Delgado province. With operator stake of 26.5% and partners such as Mitsui and Company, 20%, Mozambique's state-owned Empresa Nacional de Hidrocarbonetos, ENH, 15%, and other Indian and Thai firms, this venture has long been a cornerstone of Mozambique's resource ambitions. Global Energy Monitor, the liquefaction plant, when complete, is expected to export LNG to global markets at scale. According to recent reporting, the Mozambican government declared that the necessary conditions are now in place to resume work on the project, more than 4 years after its suspension. In October 2025, the president of Mozambique confirmed that conditions had been met for lifting the force majeure. TotalEnergies CEO recently stated that the budget has been revised to approximately $20.5 billion, an increase of $4.5 billion over the original estimate, due to the suspension and security contingencies. What this means is that construction activity, engineering contracts, and investor commitments are once again alive. But the implications go far beyond Mozambique. This project, in its revival, stands at the intersection of 3 major trends: Africa's rise in global energy supply, the shifting architecture of gas exports, and the repositioning of Western and Asian energy actors. First, Africa's resource wealth is being harnessed not just to export raw commodities, but to power infrastructure, industry, and downstream economies. The Rovuma Basin alone holds an estimated 85 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in Mozambique. Second, global energy demand is changing. As Western countries seek alternatives to traditional suppliers, emerging hubs like Mozambique stand to gain. Reports show that TotalEnergies has decided to prioritize its Mozambique program while pulling back from U.S. LNG expansions. Third, African states are playing more strategic roles, negotiating cost increases, insisting on local content, dealing with security and environmental challenges, and demanding value beyond mere extraction. For Mozambique, this revival is more than a corporate repositioning. It could redefine the country's economy. When operations resume, the revenues from LNG exports are expected to flow into government budgets, industrial zones, local content programs, and infrastructure around Cabo Delgado. For the province, still recovering from insurgency and displacement, this could mean job creation, port upgrades, housing, schools, and energy access. The restarting of the project, however, carries risk. Security remains fragile, costs have soared, and social and environmental concerns abound. The story of why the project stalled is critical. In April 2021, militants attacked the town of Palma near the fungi site, killing dozens and driving many operators and workers away. Construction was suspended and a force majeure declared. The impact for TotalEnergies was immense. Site access withdrawn, logistics disrupted, contractors furloughed, investor confidence shaken. The project promised to start production as early as 2024, but by 2025 delays had pushed an on-stream date toward 2029. That gap of years and billions in cost escalation transformed the economics and the geopolitics of the undertaking. Deepwater wells in the Golfinho and Adam fields must feed via undersea pipelines to the Afungi onshore plant. From there, LNG trains, 2 in the design, will liquefy the gas for shipping. The total estimated capacity is approximately 13.12 million tons per annum. Every part of this chain, from subsea intervention to FPSO construction, from land-based infrastructure to export terminals, has been under review and revision. Cost pressures from inflation, subcontractor renegotiations, and security measures are substantial. For global gas markets, the restart of this LNG project matters. The world is in a phase of supply reshaping. Russia's dominance has been challenged. U.S. shale is mature, Middle East expansion is being scrutinized, and Asia is hungry for new sources. Mozambique's vast volumes and proximity to emerging Asian buyers make it strategically placed. The lifting of force majeure places Mozambique back into the game and gives Africa a front seat in LNG exports, not just as supplier of raw gas, but as a producer of liquefied volume. That shift could reshape global trade flows and challenge incumbent exporters. There are also broader industrial implications for Africa. If the project proceeds smoothly, Mozambique could use revenues to fund domestic manufacturing, steel, shipyards, LNG-derived chemicals, and even power generation for its own grid. That could mean less reliance on imports and more value retention. Furthermore, the restart implicitly raises questions for African gas strategies. Can gas act as a transitional fuel while renewables scale? Will gas be exported, or will it feed local industry? Will local content requirement lead to downstream jobs? These are the issues African policymakers, energy firms, and investors are now addressing. In Mozambique's case, the government is reported to be negotiating several terms with TotalEnergies: revised budget approval, extensions to licensing and production periods, added security conditions, local content quotas, and implications for social license to operate. For TotalEnergies, the ask is clear: return to profitability, manage cost overruns, enable secure operations, and deliver export capacity in a volatile region. For Mozambique, it is about monetizing one of the largest offshore discoveries in Africa while managing local expectations, security, environmental risk, and community impacts. One major community risk lies in Cabo Delgado. Thousands were displaced over years of insurgency. Infrastructure was damaged, and trust with local communities fractured. The arrival of a massive LNG development must balance extraction economics with social justice. Formerly, critics argued that the people of Palma and Afungi did not receive equitable benefits. Now the project's restart brings community grievances back into focus. Veridicer LTO failure to address local livelihoods, environmental damage, or military heavy-handedness could derail the social license and threaten the project's integrity. From a strategic viewpoint, the restarting of this project signals Africa's evolving role in global energy supply chains. For decades, Africa was deemed a source of raw materials for Western or Asian manufacturing. Now Africa is positioning itself as a producer of value: liquefied gas, export contracts, infrastructure, jobs. The shift is subtle but decisive. Mozambique's LNG project is not just about gas. It is part of the narrative that Africa can host, build, and control large-scale energy exports. For investors, the timeline remains key. As of October 2025, TotalEnergies expects first production in the first half of 2029, 5 years later than originally planned. The delay is not trivial. A 5-year difference at this scale means billions in lost revenues, cost escalation, and restructured contracts. But for a world hungry for diversified LNG supply, the relaunch is timely. From Mozambique's perspective, the opportunity is enormous. The country ranks among the least electrified in the world, with large portions of its population lacking consistent power access. A successful LNG export program could underpin domestic energy investment, infrastructure development, and integration into regional trade corridors. It might transform ports, roads, housing, and education. It might reshape the destiny of Cabo Delgado from frontline conflict zone to energy corridor. Yet the project's success will depend on 3 factors: security, economics, and sustainability. Security in Cabo Delgado remains fragile despite improvements. Construction in remote sites still requires air or sea access with specialized logistics, which is costly and risky. Economically, cost overruns and global LNG price volatility will challenge returns. On sustainability, gas projects face greater scrutiny amid climate transition. The question of whether large LNG investments align with green goals will matter deeply. This is the relaunch of one of the largest energy projects outside the Gulf. It is the reopening of a frontier. It is the moment when Africa's energy narrative takes center stage. The restart of Mozambique's LNG megaproject is not only about gas. It is about who holds the map of power, who writes the rules of supply, and who defines the future of the global energy economy. And in that story, Africa is no longer waiting. Africa has begun. You've been watching Africa Geo Trends, where Africa's moves shape the world. If you haven't already, subscribe now and stay ahead of the next big story.